I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him.
I meant I was not able to move. Cops, Afrikaners would not let me go with them, made me stay where I was. I guess I wasn't arrested.
This guy climbed down the ravine, carried this guy up on his back under fire, and the general wanted me to pin the silver star on him. I got up there and stand and said, God's truth, my word is abiding. He stood at attention. I went to pin him. I said, sir, I don't want the damn thing. Do not pin it on me, sir. Please, sir. Do not do that. He died.
He said 14 years ago, I trusted George Bush to keep his word. He said he was not going to go into Iraq.
Guys like you in uniform to be back on foot in the desert, taking taking Saddam.
Shock and awe started. From that moment, I was opposed to the effort, and I was outspoken.
Said that it was a mistake to go to Iraq in the first place. But the cost of not acting against Saddam, I think, would have been much greater. The United States is a bold leader, and he is popular.
I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. And we changed attitudes.
When I was about the age of the guy standing over there, I got involved in the civil rights movement.
I was not an activist. I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
I have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. The first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom two-thirds of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class.
Just to be straight with the American people, I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true, or is that
no, it's not?
Just to be straight with the American people, I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true, or is that
no,
not
it's
true?
not.
Years ago, the liberals in my party said, it's an awful thing you're doing, Joe. You are all the programs we care about. You're freezing them. Money for the blind, the disabled, education, and so on. And my argument then is the one I make now, which is the strongest, most compelling reason to be for this, but this amendment or an amendment. And that is that if we don't do that, all the things I care most about are going to be gone. I mean, whatever happened to that old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing.
They were, in fact, producing nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction. They were not. And what's the first thing that happened when we got elected? The President Obama turned to me and said, get those troops out of there. I was responsible for getting 150,000 combat troops out of Iraq. I admitted 14 years ago it was a mistake to have trusted him. And I'm prepared to compare my foreign policy credentials up against my friend here on any...
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship to secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Over here. Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first Kinnick in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart. It's not because they didn't work as hard. It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent or the strength or the endurance or the commitment? Of course not. It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
No, it's not because they weren't as smart. It's not because they didn't work as hard. It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent or the strength or the endurance or the commitment? Of course not. It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
Or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, done some dumb things. And I'll do dumb things, gentlemen.
I've been in and out of Afghanistan and Iraq 28 times. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 29 times. I've been in and out of Afghanistan and Iraq over 30 times. I've seen what these young women and men have done.
At the PRT, in a makeshift meeting room surrounded by rocks, mud, and sandbags, but filled with flat screens and computers, Hattush performed an impromptu award ceremony. He gave a Bronze Star to a corporal who looked to me to be about 25 years old.
I found myself in Iraq being asked by General Ordiano, a 4-star, to pin a silver medal on a young captain. I have been asked in a forward operating base in the middle of a godforsaken nowhere.
Who had pulled a badly wounded gunner to safety, returning fire to repel the enemy, and then keeping his buddy alive until medevac arrived.
Who had pulled someone out of a burning Humvee, risking his life. One of his buddies got shot, fell down a ravine about 60 feet. This guy climbed down a ravine, carried this guy up on his back under fire. He had gone down a ravine. One of his men who had been shot brought him back under hail of gunfire, was wounded, but the young man died.
I know it sounds a little corny, but I don't think there was a dry eye in the house.
And the general wanted me to pin the Silver Star on him. And when I went to pin it on him in front of the entire brigade, and I went to pin the Silver Star with General Rodriguez, pin the Silver Star on his chest. Stand, this is God's truth, my word is abiding. He stood at attention. I went to pin him, I said, sir, I don't want the damn thing. He stood at me, looked at me, said, sir, I don't want the medal. I don't want the medal. I don't want it, sir. He died. He died. I don't deserve it. Do not pin it on me, sir. Please, sir. Do not do that. He died. He died. He died, Mr. Vice President. I don't want the medal. Does that kid go to sleep?